Beckett is one of the co-founders of the entire Grid Real Estate Investor Network. Rob Chavez, Mark Beckett were the two original founders. We'll throw Jessica Swing on there as an additional founder because she brought you crazy people into some semblance of order. Right?
It wouldn't be what it is if she weren't there, for sure.
And today's topic, as you can kind of see, is one that I couldn't imagine a better person coming in and sharing, not just because of, his background in developing the whole CAZA real estate investor training system along with, Rob and Jessica, but because his full-time line of work, as you can see from the hat, is the construction world. Has flipped dozens and dozens of homes, and has helped many other people flip homes from, the investor standpoint. Currently, he is helping me flip one of my homes. So, and it's not flip.
Hopefully not flip.
No, it's not really flip. Well, hey, we had an agent. I hope she's not a Facebook friend of mine, correct? We had this bird brain agent come to my house. No, I'm just kidding. We had some great agents come to the house, but some of the agents have been quoting us some pretty high prices on what we could sell it for, and I'm like, maybe we are gonna flip this house. This is ridiculous. Beth is like, we are not flipping this house. We're gonna make our memories.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mark, I've given a quick and dirty introduction of yourself. Please add to that, expound a little bit about your background and kind of who you are.
Yeah, well, not here so much in the grid discussion tonight. Well, happy to talk about anything in investing anybody wants to talk about, but I can talk about that with you. You own as much stuff as I do. But the background is in development and construction. So I've worked for home builders, small developers, and then when that business stopped in 2008, I had to find something else to do. So then started renovating houses. And that's where I met Rob shortly after that. And then he and I started renovating houses, and then he was building a big agent business, and that always involves clients that have houses that need work. It's like, all right, well, we got guys, let's do some work on some of these client houses while we're waiting for more deals to pop up. Terrible idea, because that's a whole different business unto itself. And so like 5, 7, I lose track of the years after. Now I spend most of our time doing construction stuff, right, for other people, while still occasionally renovating and buying and renting stuff for ourselves. But spend a lot of time in a lot of houses for myself and other people, right? Always kind of doing the same thing. We do some regular kitchen and bath kind of remodeling stuff, but mostly it's about spending the least amount of money possible to extract the maximum value when you sell, when you rent, when you short-term rent, when you do whatever it is you're gonna do, right? That's the only way I know how to think. So that's the only thing I know how to do, and the only way I know how to look at stuff. And that's the way investors should look at things, right? And so where this discussion came from was the shortcuts I've developed in my business and in my deal doing to kind of help me plot a plan for what to do.
And we've learned a ton from Mark in that vein, like how to put as little as possible in, but in order to get the maximum return back out, right? It's not that we want to put little in. We'll put a lot in, but what's the least amount you can put in? Because you can put infinite, right? What's the least amount you can put in to get the maximum return on investment? And that's ultimately become like Beth's real kind of area of, department in CAZA Gainesville is being that person and working with folks like you, Mark, and your team and so on. So, perfect. Let's do this. Let's hit a couple slides and we'll do some introductions as we normally do. But tonight's topic, as you guys know, is how to estimate renovations, analyze costs, and maybe most importantly, Mark, and I might ask you to cover some maybe mistakes that were made at times in the past so people can kind of see how to avoid those. Nothing better than learning from somebody else's mistakes.
Yeah.
What's grid? We appreciate having first-time folks in here, so we don't want to ever assume that everybody knows exactly what grid is. So grid is a global real estate community built for investors by investors. We're not gurus. We're just a group of people that have done some deals, understand a little bit of it, get in a room like this, share what we know, learn from you guys as well, have an opportunity to kind of network with one another and get to rub off, put deals together. Anything you'd add to that?
No, but that's kind of why this exists, right? Is to have conversations. This is not a sales pitch. This is not a guru lesson. We are not attorneys. I might be a contractor, but I'm not your contractor yet. we're just gonna kind of talk about what works, and that gets us into business. Matt's a smart dude and has done a lot of really cool things. Everyone in this room, if not already in his Rolodex, probably should be, because then you'll end up doing some cool stuff, and that's kind of how it works. We do cool, fun stuff with people that we meet in rooms like this. That's why we put them on.
And Mark, what's up? Andrew, good to see you, bud. Come on in, grab a seat. And Mark has run a monthly meetup like this in Reston since 2008, 9.
Rob's done it since 8, and I was there since 9. Yeah.
So like, it's 2023, like for 14 plus years, he's been teaching small, medium, large, incredibly large groups of investors stuff just based on what we just talked about. All right, our mission, to connect, learn from, collaborate with like-minded people interested in building wealth and creating impact through real estate specifically, as opposed to the stock market or other great vehicles out there for building wealth. None, in our opinion, are better than real estate, but there are many alternatives.
Yep.
I looked at these slides a little bit before because I watched the video. This is a little sidebar. I watched the video, then I went in the slides. I'm like, these slides are a little different. Like, anyway. So we're on a wealth building journey. The goal is to achieve the income flip by building and buying assets that generate enough passive income to cover our expenses. So what attracts people to like the real estate space in large part is the ability to create income outside of your active income that you generate, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. That tends to have to happen through buying and owning assets that cash flow, right? Real estate investing is not just that, right? You can flip houses, but flipping houses is still an active income type of job, right? You acquire the asset, improve the asset, sell the asset, make a chunk of money, put it in your bank account and go do it again, right? On an active basis. But the goal, at least for the majority, for myself, I'm sure, and for the majority of the people that kind of come into rooms like this, is to say, hey, what would it take for me to own enough stuff that I wouldn't have to get up? I could work because I wanted to, not because I had to. Anything you'd add to that, buddy?
No, that's exactly what it is. And so we try to now weave that into all of these. So the next time you see one of these, it will have a similar kind of thing in it, regardless of what the topic is. Yes, I think that the topic of estimating renovations is germane to building a portfolio of property, but that's the plan, is a portfolio. That is our goal, that is our wish for everyone, is to work towards that income flip of now I work because I wanna, because I've got something else that covers my 9 to 5 expenses, right?
This will probably be mentioned in another slide, but if not, like this monthly meetup here is not designed for like just super skilled investors, right? We've got people in the room that I know that are hard money lenders, that people that have just bought their first house in the last couple of months, et cetera, et cetera. So every kind of level of expertise is welcome here, but still the goal is, hey, how could I figure out how to not have to get up in the morning and do anything I didn't want to do? All right, this is all you.
Yeah,
so this is new.
The longer explanation of all this is the business of investing requires a ladder, a learning ladder, right? And we've shaped it like a pyramid, shaped it like a ladder, whatever. As you said, everybody starts somewhere. Yeah. So we all have to kind of start at a level of mindset and energy and identity and deciding who you are. So for the sake of showing up here tonight, by the time you leave, in fact, if you leave right now, you're already real estate investors, right? Regardless of what you've done, where you've been, it starts between your ears. You have to decide that this is what you're doing and this is who you are and this is your identity, right? So it starts with that, with understanding that when you decide that this is a thing that you're going to do, that this is a journey that you're going to go on, then you'll do it. So we talk about mindset things, and then sales and marketing. Everybody's like, well, how do you get deals? Well, every business is a marketing business. People need to know you exist. They need to take you up on your offer. They need to know what you're offering, right? So sales and marketing is part of it. That comes up during discussions at these events, right? Then business ownership, you have to realize this is a business. It can be, I guess, a hobby, but if you want to make it to the top and have this be the way that you live and pay for your life without a 9 to 5, then it's a business, right? So realize you're in business, and then do business things. So we talk about business things, and then growing investments, and that's kind of the fix and flip, but it's more stuff that you try to hold on to the longer term, right? That provides actual passive income. So we kind of say, all right, at level 4, all right, now you've hopefully amassed assets to where it is paying for a large chunk of your lifestyle. Now you got some freedom, now you got some space, now you can work on other things if you want to. If you want to keep going, you can expand a business, you can get leverage, you can have other people do things for you so that now I can maybe do more of this thing while someone else is actually kind of moving the levers and doing the heavy lifting, right? You can expand, you can have partners, you can build businesses, you can make the thing bigger if you want. And then we say you should do all of those things, and then, you know, the reason we exist is to try to feel like we left the world in a better place. So that's the impact part that we say, if you're really, really into doing good things, take what you know and tell the village, right? And let other people have a better life because of the thing that you know and the thing you know how to do. So that's kind of the pyramid, the ladder. Pyramid maybe is not the right way to say it.
I keep saying pyramid.
Pyramid in real estate doesn't sound like what I'm trying to get across here.
So you give me money, and then I'm gonna give money to you.
Yeah, right.
So thank you for going through that. And in reality, guys, like I eat this stuff up. I love this stuff, but this in and of itself is probably a 3-hour talk.
Sure.
This is at least a half a day. Who knows how long that could kind of run for a weekend? I think I'm like, this is incredibly dense, but just to kind of say like, hey, where am I at? Where am I? You know, we went through Financial Peace University back in 2014, Beth and I did. And one of the cool things about like the Dave Ramsey program is it like has steps. It's like, hey, let's get this thing kind of set up first. Okay, you got that done. Let's go to the next one. Like, you know, some of us are joining or in this room tonight at different stages on this ladder mid.
Yep. Right.
But you know, it all starts, and we're always, even when you're in leadership, you're still working on every of these other steps, right? They build up, they stack. I think that's why it's to some degree shaped that way, right?
Yeah, and there are probably fewer people doing this thing than there are still working on this thing, right?
100%.
You can go as far as you want, but I say be learning based, be open to discovering new things, and then just get knowledge. That's all that this is, just get knowledge.
The term, the income flip here,
Yep.
is pointing to this level number 4,
Right.
real estate investing, and that's kind of what the topic of, you know, tonight, this whole meetup is really about, real estate investing. Just the idea though is like, when you're able to get your passive or your reoccurring income to cover your expenses, then you've achieved that income flip. You're financially independent. You're not, you know, having to work because you need to. You're working because you want to.
Yeah.
One interesting thing, because I love talking and thinking about this stuff all the time. The passive income is controllable, but it's less controllable than your expenses. You can control your expenses by turning off Netflix and stop going to Starbucks.
Yeah.
But it takes time to build a passive income. Just know that there's 2 levers, right? And the mistake a lot of people make, certainly that I've seen, is they increase their passive income while increasing their expenses, and so they never kind of get closer to that flip stage. So just recognize that 2 of those things, one's a little more controllable than the other.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, leader intros. We kind of did that already. I didn't do mine. I want to do mine if I can.
Who are you?
I am Matt Megel. My wife Beth here on the front row. She'll introduce herself in just a second. I am the owner-operator of CAZA Gainesville. CAZA Gainesville is a real estate team that's based in the Gainesville area that focuses on Gainesville real estate by kind of, you know, having done that for 10-ish years or so now, a little less than 10 years. I've been in real estate for 15 years, but just in Gainesville since 2013, so right around 10 years. It started to kind of overflow into all of like Western Prince William County, but my focus has always been Gainesville, and more specifically from 2016 to 2023, it's been just Meadows at Morris Farm and Glenkirk Estates, which has kind of been the foundation of my business. I run this group because as I've continued to, you know, build that business that's thankfully, you know, taking care of Beth and I and our girls, I wanted to create a little more impact at the top, take what I've learned and start sharing it in this environment. Sharing it in this environment has allowed me to kind of increase my visibility a little bit amongst the people that I want to be visible to, people in Gainesville, right? So thank you very much for coming out. I really appreciate that. What do I want to accomplish? I just want to get to know you guys. I want to know what I can add, how I can add value to you guys specifically, whatever it is that you're kind of looking to buy, invest in, learn, whatever. I'd love that. And then you can connect with me. The easiest way is probably on my Facebook page. Friend me on Facebook. I stay in touch with my Facebook friends at least once a year. On your birthday, you'll get a silly birthday video from me, personalized to you on the birthday, hopefully on your birthday. Unless you have your birthday on Sunday, then you're getting it on Monday. It is what it is. But yeah, connect with me on Facebook, and then I have my business cards, or I should have some cards. I'd be happy to give you my cell phone as well, cell phone number. Cool, thank you for letting me go through that. So saying that, if you know of anybody wanting to buy, sell, or invest in real estate in Gainesville or parts there around, let me know. That's my main jam. All right, we want to hear from you guys who you are and as many of these questions as you feel capable of answering, right? Are you currently an investor? What kinds of properties are you interested in? What would you like to learn? How would you hope to benefit from this group, or whatever your kind of deal is? I'd love to know, what your full-time line of work is as well, if you don't mind sharing. Would you be so brave, young lady, to be the first to share?
Absolutely. My name's Beth. I'm married to Matt. Currently an investor, also a real estate agent with CAZA Gainesville. What property types are you interested in? None right now. Like, I'm stressing the heck out, dude. No, we just, a little over a month ago, we were in the same room and I said, I'm looking for a property at Lake Anna. We want to buy something that we can renovate and do as like an Airbnb. And like 2 weeks later, that happened. So that's what we're doing right now. Super excited to have Mark and his team helping us make it a cute little spot. What am I hoping to learn? I want to hear from Mark about how to estimate these costs, because I'm not doing so good. I'm over budget.
Yeah.
How do you hope to benefit from the group? I, like Matt said, would love to just kind of get to know you guys and network a little bit in the Gainesville area where we live, work, play, and all that.
Perfect. Who are you, my friend?
Hello everyone, I'm Bisal Karki. I've been an agent since 2021 in Northern Virginia and Maryland. So to answer the questions, I'm not an investor by now, but I'm hoping to be soon. I'm here to learn about the real estate investing, and I hope to network. Actually, that's my first goal, and as well as to learn more about how to invest in the real estate.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you own your home currently, or are you renting right now?
I own my home.
So you are a real estate investor in that
it is
capacity.
already,
Plus,
yeah.
Mark said if you live right now, you're a real estate investor because it starts in your brain.
Yeah,
Right?
right. And actually, I'm trying to be an accidental landlord too, because
Okay, good.
yeah. So I'm trying to get another one with that one to
Good.
rented. So yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Bashal does a ton of real estate business. He got started in 2021, and you've probably closed 70, 80, 90 deals. Do you know?
80 plus.
80 plus deals as a brand new agent in 2 years. Dude hit the ground running hard. So,
Thank you.
Bashal, you're the man.
Impressive.
Thank you.
My name is Mahmoud Mordishi. Second time for me in CAZA Gainesville, in Great Gainesville. Very pleased to be here among these brilliant people. And one thing I want to note is, like, I love seeing Matt with the energy for the introduction. It doesn't go down. Like, he's always energized. Like, I love to get some of that energy when I'm here. I can say I'm a little small investor starting, taking my first steps into the real estate, but I love real estate. Like, I developed a passion for real estate, I think, like, since I've been in the States. I've been in the States almost 6 years so far. My main income source is I'm an investment professional. I work in a private equity that invests in energy. I'm the finance manager there, so I love, if anybody have any issues with finances anywhere, I'd love to help out. This is something I love explaining, and I think it's a talent to teach finance.
Yeah, for
Not
sure.
everyone loves finance and numbers. I love that. What I'm hoping to learn, everything. I love to learn as much as I can. Learning is a journey, never ends.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Tyler Bailey. I'm a real estate agent with CAZA Gainesville. I'm looking to get 1% better at my business. I've done a deal with Mark Beckett with our Renovate Now, Pay Later program. I'm not sure if we're going to talk about that today, but I do own a property. It's kind of an ongoing joke. What was it, 4 months ago?
Yeah.
The first time we did.
Yeah, probably January, something like that.
Yeah. I didn't own any property, so the joke is be careful what you say in this room. Like the second or third one, my wife and I bought our first house in Spotsylvania, so looking forward to meeting every one of you and hopefully doing a deal together.
Yeah, cool, thanks, bud.
I'm manifest me a Lambo.
Yeah, I'm telling you what.
It's out there.
That's not a good investment. No, anyway.
Hey everyone, my name is Corey Heineman. I'm originally from Woodbridge. I met Mark at the Reston one before. This is my first time here. I've done a couple wholesale deals before. I've done a flip, and then just looking to scale my business. Also, I work with my dad's hard money loaning company called Clear Sky Financial as a loan officer. So if anyone's looking for a hard money loan, let me know.
Cool, okay, good stuff. Andrew.
Hey, I'm Andrew Duran. I train dogs by day. I own Citizen K9 here in Gainesville. I met Matt through mutual friends and poker league and stuff like that. I guess, this is my wife Diane. We currently own a townhome in Burke that we rent out. And so we've always been interested in real estate, and we get really hot sometimes, and then we're like, we kind of like, oh, life gets in the way, so, we're kind of trying to focus in, really, get off the ground. Property types I'm interested in, anything that's going to produce income to get her out of the government and me
Yeah.
with less dogs than I need to have at this time.
Those dogs out of my house.
Yeah. I'm hoping to learn, especially in this class, just, every now and then I'll go down the internet rabbit hole and looking at properties and stuff, and I'm look at the pictures and I'm like, well, that doesn't look too bad, right? And then, I have no idea, in all honesty, right? So, and I think, just networking with the group, I think is always a good thing. The more people you know, the better off you'll be.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so.
The Burke townhouse, was that a prior primary residence, or did you buy that as investment? That was a prior, I
Yeah,
gotcha.
she bought it, yeah.
Got it, okay.
Before we were married.
Good. Yeah, our first rental property was the same thing. It was in Morris Farm, but it was a townhouse we lived in. We moved into another one and kept the first one. So that's great.
Diane, as you mentioned, I work in the government right now, so I actually grown up in real estate my whole life. My dad he owns multiple mobile homes, and he owned a
Cool.
large 100+ or 200 mobile home park, so it's more on the mobile home side and that sort of stuff, but rentals, and my brothers do that, and we've spent $30,000 going to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, traveling all around the country, going to these classes on all this stuff, and we actually were attending with Mark, and he doesn't remember this, but in Reston, CAZA, this was like maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago, but all we've gotten done so far is the house that we rented,
Yeah.
so I'm just like, okay, are we gonna do anything?
Let's do it, yeah.
We're ready to,
That's great.
our kids are at the age now where they can pretty much be home alone, so here we are.
Okay, yeah.
That's awesome.
No
High
babysitter
five,
needed.
me too.
Yeah.
You just tell me at least one of those dogs is named Rosebud.
No.
Has there ever been a Rosebud? Citizen K9?
Oh, I get you.
Oh, yeah.
Ba-dum bum.
I thought that
I
was
don't know
I
Citizen
thought that
K9.
was the bit. Like,
Yeah.
I love a pun. Citizen K9. That's a great name for a business.
Perfect.
Not pick up on that.
Citizen
me
Kane.
neither.
Yeah, that's a good one.
King of references, though.
Lou Martinez, been an investor since 2010. Kind of liquidated those properties a couple years ago, and now just really building back up to 8. Got 3 flips ongoing right now.
Great.
Currently. I invest down in Texas. It's just my neck of the woods where I'm from. What I'm hoping to learn, just again here to grow my network, grow to meet other like-minded individuals. I'm new to this area, so don't really know too many people in the Warrenton, Gainesville area. I did buy a property here. It is also a rental.
Great.
So just again expanding. Really interested in multifamily land. We got land in Texas. I'm also looking to develop as well. So if I can get with a builder or something like that to learn from even more so before I go into that, and go looking again just to learn, keep growing.
That's an interesting collection of assets. I'm curious.
What part of Texas, by the way?
Northeast Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of rural right now with
Yeah.
a lot of the properties. but,
Okay. So this is a discussion, so I hope to have back and forth opinions. I'll talk about some numbers and math, and I'd be curious to know how it jives with what happens in Texas, what things cost, what you're spending to renovate out there. All real estate is local. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to compare.
Just did a cost segregation across the whole portfolio, so we'll see how that turns out. Still doing taxes now.
Can you share real quick what the cost seg was, investment per property? Was it about under or over
It's
2K?
It's about anywhere from 1,200 to $3,000 per property.
Gotcha, okay.
So it's been about $16,000 overall.
Got it. Okay, about 2K, average, got it. That's what I was
Yeah.
hoping for.
What are you hoping to save based off that 16 that you spent?
About 253,000.
That'd be a good ROI.
Right.
Yeah.
So it should knock down like so I'm a technology consultant by day. So hopefully that'll clear out that W-2 job.
Yeah, for sure. Daniel.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Knight. I am an agent on Matt's team. I focus on buyers primarily. I've helped about a dozen first-time investors get their first deal done this year. I'm mostly interested in meeting some wholesalers because I want to help some of my clients who are really stuck. Because all the deals that I've done this year for my clients have all been off the MLS, by the way, just good negotiating and a lot of hustle. So obviously that's the primary value add for me as an agent. I am not a wholesaler, and I'm trying to help some of my other investor clients get some burrs and some flips, and obviously there needs to be a lot more meat on the bone. Right? And the MLS is good, but there's usually not that much meat on the bone in order to make a flip or a burr work. So interested in getting more wholesalers into my network so I can help my buyers.
And brag on you just real quick. Dan is a Grid AI certified agent. Grid does put out an agent investor certification where it teaches people who work as real estate agents predominantly how to speak investor, like how to talk, how to like understand their mindset, what they're trying to accomplish, and how to address that. He's Bigger Pockets. You guys raise your hand if you've heard or listened to any Bigger Pockets stuff. So like Bigger Pockets does ads.
The most recent book right here.
Right, yeah. Bigger Pockets does ads for people who want to do it. Those ads are sent to CAZA, and Dan gets probably 30+% of the Bigger Pockets leads around here for people who want to buy. So that's where a lot of those those dozen plus. But in addition to wholesalers, you're looking to access off MLS inventory however it comes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Wholesalers would be a great option, but whatever that could look like, you'd be
Right.
interested in.
Well, for example, if any of you happens to know someone who's interested in getting started and is willing to hustle in order to get that wholesaling fee, I can put them to work and show them what to do, but I just don't have the time to do it myself when I have,
Yeah.
a dozen clients and
Yeah.
wholesaling's not really my day job.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm your girl.
It's already working. The networking is happening already. Yeah.
Because I have a property, I'm wholesaling, but I may, but anyways, my name's Tian.
Hi, Tian.
We'll talk after. I'm an investor, a realtor. I also work for a 3-letter agency with the feds,
Cool.
by day. His dad is my hard money lender on all
Oh,
my
cool.
projects.
Okay.
I own 5 properties right now, and then wholesaling one of them, off-market, pre-foreclosure, distressed assets, my kind of specialty, so.
Your 5 properties are around this area, around the country, or?
No, all in Prince William and
Great.
Oxford County.
Okay.
Oh, that's perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Kenneth Opplinger. I'm a former investor who's looking to reinvest. Properties that I'm interested in. I hopefully would like to find some rental properties that'll cash flow. I know that's difficult in this market, especially if I want to stay in this area, which is my preference, but open other options as well. Hoping to learn just, whatever I can, whatever can get me to a good deal. And then benefit from the group is mainly just to learn whatever I can and then network with people who are appropriate.
Perfect. Thanks for coming, bud. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Vinod.
Hi, my name is Vinod Patel. I'm a pharmacist by profession. I own a partner in a pharmacy with assets here. I have a condo in Arlington, was our first place we bought, and then we moved into a house where Matt helped us find our house in Chantilly here, and we rent the current condo. I have invested in recently in storage facilities with my partner, and same partner I invested in Sky Zone, so I have some investment on the side. But looking to just to do more hard money lending was my kind of main goal when I got in here. Well, my current partner with pharmacy does that kind of full time. Just want to learn that and kind of be the bank pretty much. So I haven't done the deal yet, but just trying to network with people and let them know if you're interested, do it.
Perfect.
Love it. Not just a way to kill 20 minutes, right? Hopefully everybody heard that there's agents in the room, there are lenders in the room, there are finance people in the room, there are people who are doing wholesaling and stuff in the room. This is it. This is everything you need is probably in this room. You have a halfway competent contractor. Just connect the dots, and that's what we're trying to do here. And what we do after the kind of chat about what we're talking about, maybe hang out for a minute, right?
Yeah,
Maybe swap some information, and then do something with the information, right? Grab coffee, grab lunch, follow up, send an email, do a thing. Everybody started in the same place, and you were just one manifestation in this room away, right, from actually getting dirty, getting into something that will probably make you hopefully some money. And even if it doesn't make you a ton of money, you're gonna learn something. And that's all we do. We try to get that 1% better, right, on every deal, on everything. Just keep doing, just keep grinding, and it will work. And that's what we're gonna talk about, and then even afterwards talk about it a little bit more if you want, right?
Yeah, cool, for sure.
All right.
All right, important legal stuff.
Dull mumbo jumbo, don't believe it.
We are not attorneys, surveyors, tax folks, blah, blah, blah. We just do stuff and go do your own due diligence and make sure you don't sue us.
Correct.
All right. By being in the room, you guys opted in for being in our videos and our photos and our promotion on social media. So wear a mask if you want to come back and don't want to be in our photos, because we do that and can't have people all ticked off at us.
That's right.
Taking the photos. All right, Mark, I'm gonna let you kind of run a little bit with this. Instead of me running it and then you chiming in, I'm gonna let you run it and I might chime in from this point.
So I've got some kind of before and after photos of some projects that we've worked on, and the point is just to kind of get a general sense for what stuff looks like. And so when I'm talking about what stuff costs, I want you to be able to see what you get for what you're paying, right? I'll talk about the purpose of the discussion after, or the purpose of the estimate, after just kind of looking at the thing. So this is a typical rehab or even rental grade exterior renovation for us. We paint things where they can be painted, we clean. This happened to be a project that happened in the winter time, so you're not gonna get a whole lot of green stuff, but it's whatever we can buy. We go a long way with mulch, and you try to just clean up the outsides of houses where you can. You add value where you think you kind of need to, if value and comps dictate. We should definitely talk about that aspect of this. But in this case, this was like a little 2-level Rambler thing. We stuck a little portico action over the door because that didn't take a whole lot of heavy lifting to do, and kind of broke up the dull front of the thing. But otherwise, this is just paint. And we even, I think, changed the shutters, because shutters are vinyl and they're fairly cheap. So paint, new shutters, new front door, a little thing over top of the front door, a little mulch, a little plants. You can go farther.
This guy here, geez Louise, that's some...
And by the way, this is what we get when we're buying deals most of the time. I think Daniel mentioned it, a lot of our stuff comes off the MLS. We're not getting the pretty stuff. We're getting stuff that needs a little work. That's how we're able to buy properties at the prices that we want to pay, so you'll have to do some of that stuff. But it is, for us, largely just kind of cleaning and freshening stuff. You can go further with curb appeal. I'm not an agent by trade, so I don't spend a lot of time with buyers like pulling up to houses. I sit in a lot of open houses, so I know what they say when they get in the door, but I'm not with them when they walk through the door. So I would be curious if anyone has thoughts on what more or less to do sometimes with curb appeal. I just want a house to look clean, not overgrown, right, and not like it's got a lot of work to do.
The only other contributing factor to that, to that analysis that I would say is it really kind of depends on what this house looks like, that house looks like, and this house looks like, right? Like, if this is kind of what the others that are nice look like, then I'm not going much beyond that.
Right.
But I might keep up with the Joneses a little bit if everybody else has kind of got the blank. Well, maybe I got to go get the blank too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm just trying to get it so that it's like this is I can move in tomorrow.
And by the way, that's gonna be a theme, is what do I need to do to be amongst the top 75% of the neighborhood for looks? Let's take another look at maybe, you know, like a bathroom. Because what I want you to see is everything is new and things are nice, but not palatially nice. The one thing that I don't do with the renovation that I do is try to have the absolute prettiest house in the neighborhood with the absolute highest end everything, because I don't find, number one, that makes my money back to the same degree. Yeah, you can flip back and forth through a couple of these. I don't find that I'm able to count on being able to sell for more than any other house in the neighborhood ever has. It happens, I'd say, decent percentage of the time. We end up setting records in our neighborhood. Some of that has to do with the market. But I'm mostly just looking to be clean, be new, be fresh, be nice, have nothing that someone walks in and goes, ugh, all right, well, we gotta do that. I want no gotta do's when someone walks into the house. They don't have to say this is exactly what they would do. This is not exactly what I would do. None of these are what I would renovate my house to, but that's not my goal. That's not my spend, and that's not where we wanna be. We wanna be new, we wanna be nice, we wanna be appropriate for the market, we wanna be appropriate for the comps, right? I need to first see what the neighbors look like, what their houses were like inside, outside, what they sold for, how long it took, and to get a general sense for where values are in the neighborhood, and then back into kind of the look and amount of fanciness maybe that might go into a house, but rarely is it gonna be much different than this.
One of the things that you mentioned in these slides, and we're going to get to it, I think that's actually written out, is the 3 different levels of renovation.
Yeah.
And these slides are a good visual for like level 1, which is a rehab.
Basic rehab.
I want you to
Yep.
use the language, right?
Yeah.
The basic rehab,
rehab.
where you're not moving.
That's right.
You know, the shower is still in the same location.
Correct.
The toilet is still in the same location.
Correct.
We can't see it, but the vanity is right here, right?
Yep.
So everything is in the same location. We're not having to necessarily pull permits to try and move water and all that kinds of stuff. So this, though it's quite nice, I mean, you got a frameless shower here, you got, you know, color schemes that make a lot of sense. It's, but this is a basic rehab.
Pull and replace, right?
Pull and
We're not
replace.
moving stuff. We're just taking out the old and putting in new. And the new is, that's probably $3 a square foot max tile. Sometimes get it on sale for $1. We get most of our stuff from Depot, Lowe's, and my favorite, Floor and Decor. If it goes on the floor, it goes on the wall. You go to Floor and Decor between 9 and 6 most days. It's all contractors. Most contractors and rehabbers. Floor and Decor is one of the best places for a selection versus cost versus availability, so that we can get what we want when we want it and do our thing.
Is that where you get like your threshold tile there for the?
Yep, that's just a piece of regular old threshold marble that we'll use as a shower threshold. It's just a big piece of door threshold.
Found that to be an expensive piece.
Yep, it is. That is a thing that I do instead of tiling the top of that. Cause we try to do these things right and well too, and I wanna do right by the person buying the house. So when we say like, well, we're trying to keep the cost down, yes, but also do a thing that we can be proud of doing and not have to worry about someone else living in also after we do it, because you are in the chain of title once you've purchased a thing and made it someone else's home, right? Talk about that maybe in a second. We talk about the cost of things and permitting and what that gets you and what you should and shouldn't do. But yeah, something like that threshold piece might be another $50 worth of material than doing it in tile, and that saves a little bit on labor. But it doesn't leak nearly as often. I don't have to worry about grout going bad on a place that gets stepped on a lot and holds a lot of weight like you do with tile. So I think it lives better, so we do that. But
This image though is for the second tier
Yes.
of renovation,
Correct.
where as you guys can tell, the majority of it is still in the same spot, but all of a sudden we got a shower that didn't exist before.
correct. So
talk
this
about-
is a basic remodel, what I call, when we're trying to add some value by doing some things adding some things that maybe the house didn't have, where they make sense and don't require a whole heck of a lot of heavy lifting. In this particular case, the other side of that wall was a coat closet at the end of a hallway with where this bathroom is situated. This bathroom was in a primary bedroom, so it had originally just a two-piece bathroom in it with no bath or shower. It made imminent sense for the cost, for the incremental soup to nuts, maybe $2,500 to take down the wall and reframe and put a shower in and do the plumbing and do the drain work. That then does require plans and permits and inspections and all those things. But it more than added that cost to having your primary bathroom, primary bedroom, a true ensuite bathroom, right? I can look at comps and I can say, all right, the ones that don't have bathrooms are selling for this. The ones that actually have full bathrooms are selling for tens of thousands more because people want a full bathroom in their primary bedroom.
Yeah, I'm guessing it
So-
wasn't just $2,500 more.
And it was, yeah, it's not just $2,500 more that somebody would pay for that, right? That is a highly valuable thing to have. So when there are cases where a wall can come down or a bathroom can be easily added, a layout can be improved, we'll do that at kind of the remodel level instead of just the quick in and out rehab. So that's what you see here, but the material's still the same. The materials are still Depot, Lowe's, Amazon, Wayfair, Build.com, Floor and Decor. Everybody knows where they are, kinds of places. Just know that the more that you shop online, the more you're gonna have to budget some time and hassle for returns because stuff ends up broken or not at all. So you'll have some hassles that you don't have when you can just walk in the store and walk out with something. So we try to shop at places where we can walk in, walk out, and have no more than an hour's drive somewhere if we had to get a thing right now to be able to go and get our thing. But that's what this is. This isn't, Hansgrohe faucets. These aren't Toto toilets. This isn't a custom vanity. This is all in stock, orderable stuff, and it's all plenty nice enough. Beth is a master at finding really good looking stuff. You will develop a sense for where to find, how to shop sales, where to keep a list of things, and then, by the way, once you do it, do the same thing. Like, yeah, it's fun to do a different thing, but it's also really nice to do the same thing. Same vanity and the same tile and the same toilet, and yeah, it's maybe a little monotonous from a designy standpoint, but it makes it a heck of a lot easier to know what you're gonna pay from day to day. That's what I'm kind of building towards, is having a reference of knowledge that you can say, I've done this enough, I know what it costs me roughly a square foot to do this kind of work. By the way, if I was gonna throw a number out at you, and we talk numbers about whole houses in a second, for a kitchen and bathroom space, use $200 a foot in this area to get kind of this look. So if you're in a 8x5 typical hall bathroom at 40 square feet, that's $8,000, right? For $8 grand, I'll do this for you. I will get your, well, couple thousand more if you're adding a shower where a shower doesn't exist. So you'd have to include that square footage, right, in your math. But in a typical 8x5 hall bath, pull it all out, put it all back in again.
So I'm gonna jump in real quick. You're saying for pull and replace
Yep.
in bathrooms and kitchens, we're not necessarily permitting, we're not moving something over here and then switching that thing over there, whatever it might be. 200 a square foot, Northern Virginia pricing, pretty safe. Maybe you get a little discount, but if you're trying to do your estimates, because you're looking at the house online and you're trying to figure out what you should be, calibrating or how much you're gonna have to invest it, how much you're gonna have to buy it for in order to still be able to make that $200 a square foot work, that's what the value of knowing these.
Correct, and we get to some slides in a second that talk about kind of what it is I'm trying to build to here when I talk about this amount per square foot, right? But first I want you to kind of see what it looks like.
Tier 1, simple rehab, everything stays in the same spot, you just upgrade it.
Yep.
Tier 2, a little bit of a remodel, you are gonna be pulling some permits and you're gonna be kind of making some improvements to an existing space, expanding it, modifying it in one way or another.
Yep.
Tier 3 is, what do you call this kind of tier for our purposes of conversation today?
Yeah, this is like trying to, this is a complete
remodel?
remodel, right? Full remodel, where I am trying to add things where they currently aren't in more than just like there's already a closet here, I can steal the closet. I've gotta run plumbing and electric and structural stuff and really add a thing that didn't exist in another place. So the picture is not super easy to see, but
this is great. You can see like this is the sink now. Like this is the sink now.
Correct.
They grabbed this guy and moved they replaced it. This whole wall is completely been removed. A fireplace in the back.
correct. These are stairs right here, so this went down. It had this sunken
How
dining room
silly is
thing.
that?
So we had to level that out and get this all on one floor so that the kitchen with a big island was all kind of in this area here.
New cabinets, new countertop on this back wall, which obviously didn't exist. So you can see like we're flipping this. We're creating a completely unique space. There's other photos from the other angle you can kind of see now, looking back towards the kitchen, what it used to be, looking back towards the kitchen now, looking from the kitchen, past the fireplace, looking now. So like, this is another tier. Do we want to do dollars later or?
Yeah, we'll talk about dollars when we go through all of them.
Okay.
We'll talk about kind of what.
But here's where, as a real estate investor, especially if you're in the flipping space, but even if you're in the long-term hold space, if you can see enough before and after photos, if you can train your mind to see enough before and after photos, most people can't. They literally can't. Having worked with exclusively buyers for 8 to 10 years of my real estate career, everybody sits down with you and says, oh man, don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It could be totally messed up. I've got the vision to see it. And then I go on and show them this, and they're like, this is hideous. It'll never be beautiful. I'm like, dude, you've got to be able to see what it could potentially be in the future. But it is a talent, a skill to develop so that you can find value where other people don't, right? The investment is made in the purchasing. It's not in the selling. So if you can look at the before photos and you can see in your mind the after, now you can say, all right, I could buy this for X and I can make money on this scenario.
Pro tip, if you're out flipping houses and you've got to buy a bunch of cabinets, we get a lot of free design heavy lifting from our cabinet suppliers. They happen to be designers oftentimes, or will have a designer on staff, but you get that design service kind of baked into the cost of your cabinetry. You gotta buy cabinets anyway. So with the right supplier, you can get a lot of help with this stuff. And actually they'll put plans together that are oftentimes good enough to even get you permits. So I don't have to pay the engineer to do plans because I got designers doing schematics. They gotta measure everything anyway. So they come, they measure, they design, they draw up, and then I can kind of use that for what I need. And then I get a lot of design help too, and they kind of help us stay on trend with colors and things. Like for instance, you'll see this is from a couple of years ago and we were still doing agreeable gray, which everything was agreeable gray for about 5 years, and now you're gonna be able to tell, oh, this was a late 2020 teens renovation. This is gray. We're moving away from just gray and white stuff and doing other colors and things now, but that's also part of your research. So you do comp research, and I don't just randomly decide what makes sense. I look at what other houses are doing.
What colors are you going with now? I'm just kind of curious.
I think the wall paint now, the gossamer veil. I think, what did you select, Beth? What colors you
Eater
remember?
White by Sherwin-Williams.
Okay.
It's white, but
Yep.
it's got like a cooler
Yep.
tone to it.
EIDER, right? Yeah. Yep, that one is popular, the gossamer veil, but they're all shades of now white with a little bit of something in it, so it doesn't look just starchy white and it doesn't blend in with the trim. It still lets you do like a bright white trim and the trim pops, or a colored trim. We're seeing like people are trying like black ceilings in certain rooms. You can do some kind of interesting stuff. I just try not to do anything where anybody's gonna walk in and go, ooh, I gotta redo that. But even in a small enough space, sometimes you can do that. Here's my other pro tip. Powder room, just go nuts. You want to do something completely nuts that you saw on Pinterest somewhere, just do it in the powder room. Wallpaper, gold flaked ceilings, whatever, because it's a small space, it's not gonna cost you that much. So if you're gonna go nuts anywhere, go nuts in a powder room. If anybody hates it, it's a small space, they won't assume it's gonna cost $1 million.
I would also say don't go nuts on like big things that are hard to flip out. Like don't go crazy on the floor color or the cabinet color. Like those are standard, but you can go crazy like around that stuff, you know what I mean?
The only other thing I just want to say is, if you guys are getting into some flips, like that whole pro tip about the cabinet people being your designers and you're thinking, you know, providing the necessary schematics for permits, like you might not, if you're getting started, you might not want to flip your first house alone, right? Bring on a partner who has some of those tips and tricks that you can kind of steal in your first deal or two. Like, hey, let's do this deal together. And then he's like, hey, we're not going to pay for any schematics. I got a guy, right? So like that can really help cut down some of because one of the topics for today is how to avoid mistakes. I'm going to recommend to avoid mistakes, partner with somebody who's done a couple dozen, and then you're like, you've got some stuff I would have never thought to do, right, when doing it on my own.
Yeah.
All right. Points to consider. You covered some of the stuff, but anything?
So what I'm doing here, what I'm building towards here is we kind of do sort of similar things in most houses with sort of similar materials that we know where they come from, we know what they cost just about every time. Have to try to keep up with the rise of costs, right? Stuff has gone up a little bit in the last couple of years, a lot of it, depending on the thing. So do keep up with that, and I try to keep up with that with the numbers I tell people to use. But the point is, what I want to try to do is know what I'm gonna probably be doing in most houses from looking at them. And when I say looking at them, I mean maybe looking at them from a photo. We've been sent listings from a wholesaler. You saw something online. Somebody said, hey, I've got this deal I'm willing to sell. Are you interested in buying? What I'm trying to do is come up with a standard that I can say, if I did it here, I would do it there, and I know what it cost me here, so I can apply what I did over here to the thing over here, right? Lather, rinse, repeat. Account for whatever you think you might need to account for that you can't see or didn't see. But what I'm trying to come up with is a way to be efficient in business, right? I need a tool to be able to quickly analyze and estimate potential costs for a thing so that I can make a decision and decide if this thing that I'm looking at, wherever I saw it, a new listing that came up, a wholesaler that sent it to me, an agent that said that they had a thing, whatever it is, wherever it came from, I want to know if it's worth working more on, right? So what I'm trying to do then is come up with a per square foot average cost of things based on the hundreds of things that I've done. You start building your database though on deal number one. You can take my number if you want. It's pretty good, it works for me. Start building your database, but I built the database of these costs so I can kind of reduce it down to an average spend per square foot in the average house if it's the basic, if it's the level 1 remodel, or if it's a level 2 remodel. And I know I'm probably gonna be within 5-10 grand of accurate. That's not bad on a 5 to 6 figure possible renovation on a house if it needs a fair amount of work. I can live with that. If $5,000 is gonna make or break the deal, it probably wasn't a very good deal anyway, right? The purpose of this though is to come up with a number that I can at least put into a spreadsheet. Here's what it's gonna cost me to buy it. Here's what I'm gonna be into it for. Here are my holding costs. Here is a placeholder for a renovation cost. What does this deal make based on what this person is asking? If the number's green and has a plus in front of it, we're at least talking. If it's negative 5 grand, all right, well, maybe that's a gap I can make up if I need to be 50 grand in the other direction. If it's $100,000 off, I'm not gonna bother with this one. I've got other stuff to do today, right? I'm certainly not gonna go drive out to some other end of the town, state, or county and go look at this thing if I'm that far off. Could my estimated renovation cost be too high or too low? Maybe, but it ain't gonna be $100,000 off, right? If my deal is $100,000 off, pass, move to the next one. If the deal is spitting out that it's gonna make $150,000, you know what? Maybe I underestimated, but I probably didn't get it 150 grand wrong either. Let me drop everything else that I'm doing and go get on the phone with this person, get in a room with this person, call that wholesaler back and say, I'll tentatively take it. Let me now go and take a look at this deal, right? What you don't wanna do is spend your day driving around looking at things that maybe are deals to try to get down to the exact penny estimate of a thing. And the only way you're gonna do that is either by doing it yourself, or even worse, wasting a contractor's time to drive around with you to look at a thing that you don't have under control yet and isn't an actual deal. You'll get away with that once. Shame on me. Number two, I'm like, yeah, that's not really what I do. Good luck and buy on deals. Don't do it. Don't waste anybody's time with that. Find a way to kind of cheat sheet your way into knowing if you're on the same planet with someone, if you're on the same planet with a seller, that's when we want to get into a deeper conversation and try to like figure out where our deal really is.
Think about the components that you need to have some working knowledge of to know if you have a deal. What will it sell for? We call that the ARV, the after renovated value. What's the just going in reverse chronology. What's going to be the cost of selling it? There's taxes, there's typically agent fees, things like that. So like, what's it going to sell for? What's the cost of that sale? What's the renovation cost, which is the focus of what we're doing right now? What's the acquisition cost? There's also costs to actually acquire that, right? How much are you gonna profit? And that should have maybe been at the beginning until like in terms of importance, but like how much are you gonna profit? So then what are you gonna buy it for, right? There's just these 5 or 6 different components of the deal. This one is specifically saying, what about that estimated renovation costs? I'm listening to this book right now called Mental Models. Rob just recommended it. I went onto Audible and I saw it was 3 hours long. I'm like, that's my kind of book. Let's buy that one. So it talks about maps. This is a map. The only value of a map is if it is smaller than the actual land it's representing. Because if the map was the exact same size as the land, you have no value in it, right? You're there on the land looking at it. So this is just a map. It's taking that whole process and saying, okay, how can I kind of see it in a small thing so I can see if that's a good deal, make an offer, not a good deal, move on. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right. Historical cost data, go ahead, bud.
Yep, that's just where this comes from, right? This is the things that I'm looking at, historical cost data, the square footage that I get allows me to kind of establish that average cost. I've done this over the course of a few years. Obviously, the more that you know, the better. I try to get as much information as I can without having to drive out to a place. I tell people, if you've got a thing to sell, I'm a buyer, just give me an address and I'll figure it out. I'll give you a number. Give me an address and photos, I can do a little better. Give me an address and photos and a video walkthrough of the thing. Now I can probably feel pretty good about understanding what I'm probably getting into. Aerial photos, Google Street Maps. Google has driven in front of most of the property in the United States by now. So you can get some pretty good looks at the outside of a thing. You can see, oh, there's an addition on the back of this one. It's got whatever going on in the backyard. You can get a good sense of a thing without having to actually drive out to see it now.
Does Bing Maps still have the bird's eye view?
No, they lost. Yeah, no, they recently lost that low fly area.
Yeah, it was like an angle.
I don't know if it was some kind of licensing thing. There was this glorious period where these, instead of a satellite overhead, it was low flown airplane aerials from north, south, east, and west. And you could see somebody sitting on the porch, right? Almost as good as the Google Street View, but from an overhead view. You now have to pay for those services. They still exist. But you pay for it. I don't even do that though. I can get it without having to do that. So yeah, other assumptions. Please do not use this to put a property under an ironclad contract that you can't get out of. That's not the point. The point is to make sure that I'm on the same planet as a potential seller, and if I have to make an offer, I'm making offers that have something that I can get out with, or a low enough earnest money deposit that, all right, made a mistake, sunk cost, we have to sometimes walk away from deals, make it something that you can walk away from if you haven't actually seen the house, to make sure that it doesn't have a completely missing roof or a completely flooded basement or a completely cracked foundation wall that hopefully you were told a little something about, right? We ask questions of people when they bring us things to look at, especially if it's from marketing, right? When we do marketing to talk to sellers, hopefully we end up talking to a motivated seller. By the way, that topic comes up in one of these events. You ask questions to ascertain what conditions some things are in. And by doing that, getting as much information as you can, again, I don't typically have to go out and look at a whole lot, but still, please don't go out and lock yourself into a house just based on my rough numbers. They work for me, but you will eventually want to see it unless you're a long distance wholesaler, which some people are.
Yeah.
Get it under contract at a number that you think makes sense. If you're gonna wholesale that contract to somebody else, it's their responsibility to make sure that they know what they're buying, right? If they buy your paper, then you've done your job. Oh, wholesaling is a topic that we cover in this
Yeah.
room, right?
Yeah.
Come back for that discussion. But anyway, the goal is prioritization. I want to prioritize the leads that I get so that I can spend more time on the ones that actually make sense. So,
And make revocable, give yourself options.
And
right?
give yourself
Just
options.
Give yourself options.
Give
This
yourself
is a good
options.
tool, use it,
Yep.
take action, give yourself options. If you make a mistake, don't make it a fatal mistake.
That's right.
Um,
So, just more before and after. The point of this one is in everything but the basic remodel, and the basic remodel I would say is even a maybe. It might get you staging. So what you'll see in these rooms is staging. I always stage. Didn't used to. I used to just say, well, we put nice stuff in the house and that will do the trick, right? And that's nice stuff. Well, I don't need somebody else's furniture in my house to make the house look better. And then I hung out my own open houses. And I would encourage you to do the same. Hang out in any open house, by the way. Being in houses that are for sale is never a bad use of time.
massive amount of intelligence.
You gather a lot of intelligence about what people like and what they don't, what they think about houses they're looking at. But what I found about my houses is when I sold them empty and people went to go look at them at an open house and they had nothing else to do and nothing else to look at, they will decide whether or not you chose the right color paint, or they like the pile of the carpet, or they like the color of the stain. If you don't have anything else to do, people will find a thing to think about and talk about inside of a room. They will nitpick your finishes and the gaps and the whatever.
Who painted this trim?
Exactly. Versus in a staged room, just for the fact of possibly just having a few other things to do, it's less about a blank box that I'm trying to decide if they did it well, and it's a room. What is this room for? Does this room work for me, right? Make a bedroom look like a bedroom, make a bathroom look like maybe it's a thing that has been touched and lived in and seen some life. Heaven forbid you've got a small room, put a crib in there, make it look like a baby space so it doesn't look like it's just a giant walk-in closet, right? Staging works. I can tell you it works because I have seen it work and had houses that didn't get a lot of traction, did nothing else but stage them, and they sell. So take it from somebody who sells houses for a living, a few $1,000s, and it's not cheap, it's thousands of dollars to stage a primary bedroom, and a kitchen, and a couple of bathrooms, and a rec room if you've got one, or the living room with the couch and the sofa and some lamps and some mirrors and that kind of stuff. But it's an investment that more than pays for itself in buyer psychology.
And if you're planning and you're doing that analysis, right? We just talked about the cost of of getting rid of it. You just build that into that cost. And it's all part of the map. It's all
Yep.
part of the plan.
And it can be in these numbers depending on what else goes wrong. Yeah, back to the outside. So this is, I think, the major remodel house, right? So in the major remodel house, we were gonna do a lot of heavy lifting anyway. So while we're doing the heavy lifting, we've replaced the doors with some newer doors. We replaced the rotten old deck, the hot tub with a newer deck.
This is
house,
all wood?
That was
That
all
was not
wood.
brick up there,
Nope,
yeah,
that was
all
wood. New wood deck. That house got a new roof because the old chimney poked through it and it was in kind of rough shape anyway. So this one got a lot of stuff on the outside touched. I didn't have to completely relay all those bricks that were kind of there. We just kind of put them back together again. I'm not going to that kind of trouble usually on our average flip house to give it nice walkways that just happen to be there, and I could fix it up.
What, just curious, do you remember the ultimate final profit on this guy here, which by the way, guys, is also this one here, right?
Yeah, it's the same house.
Do you remember what the final numbers were on that? Oops, excuse me.
That was a lot. I think probably like a 470 something purchase. It was a house in Annandale, inside the Beltway here in Virginia. That ended up being, I'll quote the retail, I'll quote the retail cost, because the retail cost is what I want people to think about, not my cost as a contractor.
Right.
Part of the reason that I bother with the contracting business is hopefully it saves me a couple bucks when we go to do our own thing, although it never really does anymore, because I'm working on everybody else's thing and my thing sits. So, yes, this one ended up being like a $200,000 renovation, and that's my cost on
Do you
that.
remember what the profit
But we
was?
still made like 120 or something on it, because it sold for like 8. Because it came out really well, so a lot of heavy lifting, but It was a good neighborhood, and values were rising, and we thought we'd get it back, so we did it. So, then I've got the 4 kind of basic levels of renovation. The first one doesn't kind of really count, but it's rental grade, right? Because we do rental renovations too. Most rental renovations, though, are just kind of, you're gonna do what you absolutely have to do. We don't gut renovate the average rental property because we don't have to. You're not gonna get the juice out of a $20,000 kitchen renovation if you can get away with painting the cabinets, putting some new hardware on it, replacing the one appliance that maybe doesn't work, and leave the other 3. We don't get massive more amounts of applications as you've got new appliances in the thing. They just need to be clean and habitable.
Do a really great cleaning.
Really good deep cleaning, right? Clean, nice, not broken,
Functional.
Functional works for rental property for our portfolio, right?
Yeah.
But we're renting mid-grade stuff. I don't rent houses in McLean and Great Falls because I can't get those numbers to even remotely work, right? Our rentals are in Herndon and Manassas and Sterling and Woodbridge and just good middle of the road neighborhoods, right? And they're mostly townhouses because those are where the numbers work for us. So in those houses, we're really just fixing what's broken. But if I had to throw a number to it, to replace appliances with probably the lowest cost white appliances, because these are, well, nowadays they're $2,000 a month rentals, but God bless the rental market. Rental landlording is a very good thing, so when we talk about doing it.
Yeah, I was saying, you were saying it's not super relevant. I'm like, to me, this is maybe the most relevant thing, because I want to buy assets long term, so knowing like what the approximate cost average.
The average is an average of $18 a square foot in that average house. So, do a little math, and the numbers aren't round, and I'm not smart, so I can't do it off the top of my head. If the average townhouse has about 1,500 rentable, usable square feet in act, I talk about that towards the end, but just skipping ahead a little, I try to come up with the total amount of square footage that I'm going to be working in. However I can get that. If I'm obviously in the house with a tape measure, I can tape every square foot that I'm gonna work in, but you can tax records and previous listings and other ways. Try to figure out how much I'm gonna be working in. I don't typically work in the mechanical room. Sometimes we replace mechanics, but that's not like cleaning and painting and nicing.
Yeah.
Right? We're not nicing those things. Every room that I'm gonna be probably working, touching stuff in, I try to get in there. So an average townhouse around here might have 1,500 kind of workable.
1,500 feels even small for me. In Western Prince William County, I might push like 2K. Can we run 2K?
No problem. Well, that makes the math a little bit easier. Still can't do it in my head. 2,000 times 18 is $36,000. I have spent $36,000 on a pre-rent renovation when I also wanted to do the bathroom because the toilet was unusable, terrible, right? And then we had the glazed tile and bathtub. But that's what you're gonna get. Put a new toilet in it, glaze the existing tile, re-glaze the tub. We don't replace things like that in a rental unit. If it's got a medicine cabinet that kind of works and has a mirror on it and there's nothing ugly or wrong with it, don't do that. With a rehab, we take that out and we put a nice mirror in there. We take out medicine cabinets because while they're highly functional, they're not pretty. So that kind of thing, but we're just kind of rolling with what's there where we can. And on average, it averages about $18 a square foot. But this is honestly the one that's the least accurate because if I can get away with just cleaning and painting and carpeting, I'll do it because that's all we have to do to get houses in rentable condition.
The only other thing that's a real low cost investment that I think has a massive return, especially on its presentation, even in the rental grade, is just light fixtures. Like if you just flip out a couple of those brass 2004 light fixtures, they're not expensive. The quote unquote nipple light has certainly gone out of fashion, but whatever even just could be some like slightly more 2023 flush mounts, you can pick them up for $35 to $55 a piece. They're really just rewired. I mean, like, so paint, carpet, some light fixtures, good deep cleaning.
Yep.
You might be able to stay a little. This is probably you're saying maybe this is
kind of the middle
range.
Yeah, it's kind of the middle. Now, if you have to gut, I say gut renovate, I mean like the kitchen's bad, it needs cabinets, the countertops are bad, they've gotta come out, the bathroom is bad, you've gotta get something on the floor, then use the next number,
Right.
right? But my average rental comes in at about that, hopefully a little bit less. But that doesn't get you any kind of designy stuff, no plans or permits or any of that stuff at those prices, because they don't need them. We're just cleaning and kind of buffing it up. So the next one is like the first level that actually involves taking some stuff out and trying to do some work. That's that simple rehab, everything in place. So that's your fixtures, right? Those light fixtures, every faucet, every thing that I can unbolt and take off of another thing and bolt a new thing on will come out. That's interiors fully painted, some kind of entry grade carpet, hardwood, or now more than anything, LVP and LVT, luxury vinyl, plank, and tile, right? 99% of the look for 1/3 the cost of hardwood or in-style tile. Don't use anything else if you can avoid it. I don't know anywhere where LVT and LVP don't make more sense. We know this to be true because if we go down the street here where builders are building brand new $900,000 houses, they're using LVT, right? Good enough for them, good enough for me.
It's still expensive though,
What's that?
the vinyl.
It's still expensive?
It can be. Vinyl might cost you $375 a square foot for a good quality 8 mil pre-backed vinyl floor. You can get tile for $1, but you gotta grout it, you gotta thin set it, you gotta level the floor, you gotta hopefully do that properly. So it'll 3-4x the labor cost. So you more than make it back with the just chop it and lock it and float it. You don't even have to glue it down, right? Most of the time it works just floated. So you more than make up for the slightly increased cost with the labor.
Well, one of the reasons why those photos are helpful is because this is that rehab. This is where you put the shower where there was no shower, right? And what we're looking at the approximate price, good rule of thumb, $38 a square foot.
Right, but again, for a bathroom, it's like $200 because you're replacing expensive stuff in a small space.
Right.
This is the whole house at $38 a square foot. So your 2,000 square foot, if you're doing the math, at 38 is $76,000.
But if using the whole house's square footage gets us those bathrooms and kitchens included, correct? So if you want to separate it, that's where you use the 200. What is just the bathroom portion of that 3,800 applied to the whole house? But you can also apply it to the whole house, and that's going to do your kitchens and baths for not
Correct.
that the last flip that we talked about in Annandale, not for rearranging walls and stuff like that, but just adding, expanding the bathroom, moving back to slight modifications. This basic remodel,
Yep. Now
and
they're
I'm pushing
doing-
on only because we're at
Yep.
8
I
to
like
15.
it. They're doing everything we were doing in the previous one, but we're just doing more. I'm assuming I'm gonna need to do more things to make this house nicer because it's either functionally got problems or I wanna add that value. So this will allow me to replace the doors, replace the windows and the trim. Because when you take the windows and doors out, you gotta do the trim. We're trying to add some value by enhancing something with the existing layouts. I can move or maybe cut down some walls, add the kind of pass-through with the bar built in between the kitchen and the dining room, open concept, what everybody wants, where it makes some sense without completely re-engineering the house. But at this cost per square foot, this allows me to do what engineering I do need to do. It allows me to pull the permits that I will need to pull because I've moved a thing around. I've now taken out knocked down a wall in the hallway and shoved that shower in there to get a 3-piece, right? This covers the cost of that planning and that permitting and those inspections and the extra time and all of that. So that is baked into this cost, as is, we're talking about mistake avoidance, something else is gonna happen. Something else always happens, right? If anyone ever spent more than $25,000 on any kind of renovation of a thing and there wasn't another thing that came up while you were doing it, always happens. So I have baked in this $50 a square foot, on average, I've got another $8,000 thing. I gotta replace the HVAC because it turns out it was struggling and wasn't gonna make it. Gotta re-roof the thing because it just wasn't in good shape. Gotta re-asphalt the driveway because it was cracked and sunken and not good. This has an $8,000, it's not an oops because I know it's gonna be there. It's a poops, it's a pre-oops.
Pre-oops.
Trademark, let's make sure we TM that. That's baked in there at $50 a square foot. So 2,000 square feet, $50, $100 grand. Give me $100,000. I, a licensed Class A contractor, using permits, fully insured, properly, legally renovating this house to that standard, still trying to improve some things, pretty much taking everything out of every room and making all of it nice and new, and maybe even expanding on some things that you didn't have before.
Yeah,
is what
it's
that
gonna
should be.
feel like a new construction home. I mean, it'll feel like it is
Right.
a new property.
Anything you see pretty much will be new.
Here's the only thing I want to just mention, and we'll get to that last one.
Yep.
Is what we've seen happen a lot, and you just got to be kind of conscious of it to keep yourself in check. Is just cost creep, right? Like, hey,
Sure.
we don't need to do this. Is exactly what happened with Beth and I at the lake house. Hey, we're just gonna keep the kitchen exactly the way that is. We're gonna paint the cabinets. We're gonna hand out the knobs. All right, forget that. We're gonna rip this thing out. We're gonna slam the kitchen out. And like, so you just gotta be like, all right, guys, as you're doing it, you're very rarely gonna do this unless you got a house. You know, like you're going to push your natural inclination, because we all like to have beautiful things. We all want our product to be respected by the marketplace when we kind of put it out there. We don't want our tenants to be happy, whatever it might be. Just be careful of that like constant creep.
A couple quick points around that
Yeah.
theme, right? So at the $50 a square foot that we were just looking at your 2,000 square foot townhouse is $100,000. Can you do a renovation in a whole house for less than $100,000?
Of course.
Absolutely. I bet in Texas you're probably almost always doing it for less than $100 grand to fully gut renovate a house. One way to not spend that is to come up with the plan at the beginning. Use that number though, because let's say you can gut renovate your house for 75. Great, so you made $25,000 more on the deal if you got somebody to say yes at your $100,000 estimate than your 75. Because by the way, something will happen there in the middle of that. You will lose money somewhere. Markets do change. Our profits also our safety. And this is also a risk avoidance exercise, right? I want to make sure that I understand what my risk is. I want to know what my return is on that risk. And the more risk that I take, the more return I should get. These are not entirely easy things to do. But it also will help you to have a plan and then just stay out, just go away. Have a contractor that can at least give you photo and video updates every so often, because the creep happens when you get in. You're like, oh, that is coming along pretty. Ooh, but man, that really makes that wall over there look really bad now. All of these blinds are gonna look kind of shabby next to this other stuff. And you will talk yourself into doing other things. And your contractor will generally say, well, yeah, of course we can do it.
Yeah.
We're here to do work, right? But you will do better by not. So we're doing a deal in Ashburn now, where the lead partner, our partner Rob, who did the deal, I think he stepped foot in the house once at the beginning so we could shoot some kind of video about what was going to happen, and never saw it again. Basically just said, I need it done by this time. I want it to be on the market by this time. And I'd actually rather we find a way to spend about 10 grand less than what you said, see what you can take out and get it done, and then just let that happen. Did that. We skipped a lot of stuff that you could have done that would have been nice. And that maybe if it was my deal, personally, I'd do it too. It's just human nature. You're seeing the thing, like, all right, but the cooktop is, like, the knobs are broken, and like, I know it works, but like, I did that new, and I did that new. Didn't do any of that because he wasn't there to see it. Made $100,000, $120,000, I think, on that deal. 20, 30, 40,000 of which could have been frittered away in other stuff. He's like, yeah, you know what, these floors are kind of looking a little threadbare here on the main level. It's a cheap laminate. It was clean, and it was as nice as what some of the comps had, but you could easily be convinced, well, we're doing LVP in all the bathrooms. We're doing carpet in all the bathrooms. Let's do that too. And it's the let's do that too that will get you. So I'm not advocating completely taking your eye off of your deal, but honestly, find somebody who is competent, and the less time you do spend just wandering around, getting into trouble and thinking of new stuff to do, the better off you've been. So,
4, major remodel.
major remodel. It's everything that we talked about in the last couple of levels, right? But now I'm just adding a couple of other things. It's that basic remodel, and I know I'm gonna need to do the roof. I could see in the photo the roof was just got patches and it looked bad. No, I'm gonna have to redo the HVAC because it's a 25-year-old house and they told me they haven't done it yet. A deck, a porch, I'm gonna have to do some kind of thing somewhere that is both either a big systems thing or a big ad where a thing doesn't exist. If we have a basement that has plumbing like in the floor somewhere, like the drain exists, If I've got drains, I can get a bathroom. I can get electric anywhere I need it. I can get water anywhere I can push it. A drain requires gravity, it'll only go where it will go. As long as I've got a drain somewhere, you're usually only 8-10 grand away in the average basement, soup to nuts, framed in of a bathroom, if you need to. We'll do that if we think that another bathroom in this house will make sense. And this is the cost that lets me do that. So when I know I need to do it, or I feel like I want to do it, I'm adding an element to a property that doesn't exist. It takes a tiny, nasty deck and turns it into a nice backyard because the house is a beautiful backyard. The homes are on large lots. I can see that having a nice amenity out back gets me that investment back. That costs money. I bake that into the deal. But baking it into the deal gets you to about $66 a square foot here.
It takes a little while to kind of just be able to, you drive through Gainesville enough and a map becomes even useless. You just know where everything's kind of at because you're just here a lot. You're here, you just kind of know where everything is at. You do enough of these deals and you'll kind of just know where money is going to fall out, where it's going to work and where it's not going to work. There is also like the size of the house does matter. Like this is kind of for maybe your 2,500 to 3,000 square foot single family home, right? Like
correct.
If you're talking about the $1 million, 6,500 square foot home, these numbers are gonna get twisted a little bit. You're talking about the condo, 1,000 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo, these numbers. So like you'll get that comfort level as you kind of like look at those different scale levels of property,
right?
How to kind of apply this, but this is a good rule of thumb just for you guys to kind of.
Big and small, these numbers aren't quite accurate because big and small is just a different thing to do. 900 square foot DC condo, right, that we're trying to renovate at $66 a foot, $59,400. Might not, all right? If I'm in Logan Circle and I need nice stuff, that kitchen is still gonna cost about $25,000 to make nice with nice stuff. That's already half my budget, and I'm sure there are bedrooms and bathrooms in this condo too, right? So little doesn't really work, and then at the opposite end of the scale, a 6,500 square foot house at $66 a foot is $429,000.
Yeah.
You probably don't need to spend $429,000.
Not at retail price, but at builder cost. You could build a house for $450,000 at that size.
In some parts of the world, not 6,500 square feet.
If you own the ground already,
if you own the ground
and you own the construction company, I bet you could build 6,000 square feet for $450,000. No?
Not nicely, no.
Really?
The build cost around here now is about $25 for decent finishes.
So what's that gonna run for 6,000 square foot?
For 6,000 square feet,
I went to Virginia Tech.
$125 a square foot.
Yeah.
That's all right, we got the calculator. 125 a square foot is $750.
$750?
Yeah.
Dang.
The 6,000 square feet is a big house, bro.
No, I'm going a little bit by my insurance. Estimated rebuild cost if it burned down to the ground, and kind of what they were saying. I better up my insurance is basically what I'm learning.
Possibly, it sticks now cost a lot more than they did a couple of years ago. So yeah.
I'm gonna go through this quick because we're way over time,
Yeah.
and I want to respect people. So there is an art to figuring out what the square footage is. Mark mentioned that you can kind of have a tape measure. A laser tape measure, if you're actually standing in the property, is a really nice tool to have when you can kind of just line it up on the wall, go beep, and know exactly what that spot size is, that size is. So you can do it yourself. The MLS, the listing side of the MLS can help you kind of know what square footage is. Just know that there is human error in that, so don't take it as gospel. Agents make mistakes. Agents fudge things to try and make their houses look larger or better in certain cases. The tax record is probably the most consistent, though it still has mistakes. Trust me, I would probably say, because I look at the tax record of every single listing that I have, I would say that 40% have mistakes. Not all 40% are in the above grade or below grade square footage, but they have some mistakes as you gotta go through them.
Yeah.
But when you look at the tax record, you can kind of see what is the square footage, finished square footage, above grade finished square footage, which is gonna be like typically the main level, as well as any upper levels. It doesn't normally count any sort of basement. Even if the basement is finished, it's just not in that number. The more you look at these, you can kind of start to understand. So I'll give you a real simple example. Let's say that you look at a 3-level townhouse that's above grade square footage is 2,000 square feet. What that's saying is that the main level and the bedroom level of that house is 2,000 square feet. As a townhouse, you kind of know they're all about the same, walls are, side by side, same distance, front to back, same distance. So the basement is going to be basically another 1,000 square feet minus that mechanical room. So what's the mechanical room going to be? You take out, 10 by 10, take out 100, 150 square feet out of the basement, and you got 1,000 above, middle 1,000, and the basement's going to be 850. You got 2,850 square feet. So you have to kind of get good at some of that. Granted, stepping into the property, doing a little bit of measuring will really let you use that and price per square foot analysis to kind of go through it. Anything to tack on that?
No, not that doesn't come up. Yep, so tax records, as you said, pull tax records, MLS, do a search. The words I'm looking for are total building area, if I can find it, total finished square feet, plus anything listed in other rooms, right? Because as you said, the tax record doesn't always, when it says total finished, it might not include a basement in that number, but oftentimes it'll say BSMT, and it'll have a number next to that. I add those up. I'm just trying to come up with the highest logical justifiable square feet that I think I'm gonna be working in.
Here's what not to do. Look at what Zillow says. It is not accurate. It is oftentimes just taking that tax square footage and completely erasing a finished basement. And what Mark's saying is, I'm trying to find out how much square footage am I going to be working in? Like if the basement is finished, I'm gonna be working in it. I'm gonna be figuring out what that is. So you gotta.
And without going to the house, that's why we're using aerials. That's why we're using those Google drive-bys. I can rough guess a garage door, a single car garage is an 8-foot door. A 2-car garage is a 16-foot door. I look at the street view, now I can say it's got this size garage or this amount of carport. I know that's 8 or 16 square feet. About how much more is that? All right, this house is gonna be about 35 feet wide. See from the side, it's probably about 25 feet deep. I can just get a basic square of the thing, and if the tax record is saying 2,000 square feet, and I could see a 3-level house that's a pretty big square, that doesn't include the basement. So now I know I can add that. So I'm using everything I've got access to. Hopefully my seller just tells me, and heaven forbid they walk through with the thing like some wholesalers will do. Here's this floor, here's the basement. Great, I can just kind of rough guess the space of all those rooms with a little bit of a reference, and I don't need the tax record, but if that's all I've got, I'm trying to find every line that I can justify a square foot that a guy's gonna stand in, painting, carpeting, nailing, tiling, whatever.
Where you can get into a little bit of trouble is also when, especially homes that are, 25 plus years old, where people have started doing additions, and then you can't trust the tax record stuff. You're gonna have to go out and figure out what this thing is. Like I've got a property in Burke where it's a split level, and then normal split level, except for this whole thing that runs into the yard. And I'm like, what the, like how do you even, so you gotta just know what the product is.
Correct, and use every means available to understand what you're looking at and try to come up with something that makes logical sense. But that's where the numbers come from. And again, summarized with the same thing, the purpose of the exercise is to give me that number that makes some kind of sense, that I plug into my thing. Is this a deal? Do I spend a couple more minutes on this, right? Does it mean I'm going to spend 66 or 38 or 18 exactly? Probably not. I generally come in within 10% of those numbers in most cases, because most houses are roughly the same. We do about the same thing in most all of them. So that's the point. I want to just take an average, apply it to the thing that I'm looking at, and use it to decide if I want to spend more time getting more granular with the thing. That's what makes the business flow and more efficient.
Yeah.
Doing this kind of investing is not necessarily any different in investing in other stuff. And one of the best tools that you can have in any kind of investing is patience. If you are a day trader, they'll tell you the thing that you do is just sit there all day and wait for what looks like money just being left on the ground, demanding you not do the thing, then go do it, and it probably works. You're still gonna be wrong every once in a while. But if you take everything that looks like it might be an opportunity, you will increase the likelihood of making a mistake, being wrong, and not making money. And you'll learn, and that's that's good, but I think what you will learn, you will eventually have patience forced into you by lack of available funds to go do something else again, because you wasted them on a bunch of bad stuff, or just time and knowledge. And so use this to develop the ability to take action, but in a patient way. Sift through the garbage, find the wheat and the chaff, and then go after those real opportunities. That's the purpose of it.
I'd like to try and end at 5:30 as much as possible. It's 5:30, 8:30 as much as possible, right? We're way over.
We should start at noon.
8:30 as much as possible. But real quick, any one volunteer of any takeaway at all that they got? I'm not gonna have everybody, but anybody, yes, in the back.
I liked the remodeling cost thing, cause it just gives me an idea of what I've been spending, and then what I probably could have either saved or what, and cause I started doing this like 2 years ago-ish, and I've been using the same contractors, because it's hard to find time to like outsource or subcontract, and
Build the
you gotta
trust.
have a crew that's going and doing stuff, but then it's like, I didn't realize like they were actually charging me quite a bit more, on a lot of stuff, and then also just, like you said, going through and nitpicking and saying, well, what could I actually not do and maybe save money on if this really need to happen? I think that could have probably saved a lot of money on some of my projects.
That's
Yeah,
great.
I end up talking people out of as much stuff as I talk them into, because I'm a cheap ass. So that's how I look at things. The construction company isn't the way we're supposed to be making money. So I just tell people, like, you don't need to do that, or if we're gonna do it, LVP, don't tile this thing, or paint this room, put some carpet in here, and then see what happens. If it's absolute crickets, we can always come back and renovate if you think not renovating the bathroom was the thing that's the response that you got from every buyer. I would have bought it if you had renovated the bathroom. Fine, you can always kind of go back and do that in a couple of weeks if you need to. Less is oftentimes more, especially now. 2 years from now, 3 years from now, in a different market, maybe we come back and we have a different discussion, right?
Yeah.
A lot of this is market driven. But always, no matter what the market is, you make your money when you're buying the deal. So that's what this is for. This is to let me know if I'm in a good deal. That's the point of the exercise. The rest of it works itself out. Yeah.
I also learned that agreeable gray is apparently not in anymore. I still like it.
I like it.
I literally just
I
put
like
it in one
it.
of my houses. I mean, every single one's like agreeable.
There's nothing.
I gotta try that new color.
There's nothing wrong with it yet. It's just, I think you will see less of it.
Yeah, it's just a pretty neutral.
It is, it's neutral, and that's the other thing, like, all of this stuff is kind of neutral. It is all shades of white and gray and cream and taupe and that, not a whole lot of nutty stuff. Powder room, go crazy. Go nuts.
Everything has, I mean, you know, also when we walk into a house that is painted in that light cream beige, it just says 2005. There's nothing wrong with that. It still works. It just has a quote, I use the terminology, just has a timestamp on it.
Right.
So agreeable gray will eventually have a timestamp on it
That's
that just says this was 2019.
Navajo
We're only
white.
4 years out, so it's not that different right now.
That's
but
right. But right now, like you said, a Navajo white wall with
Navajo white, that's right, I forgot that.
oak cabinet and an uba tuba top, and like, okay, this deal got done, or this renovation happened in 2005.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, but things will change. The way to kind of know though is go to builders, like you mentioned, go to the new construction models and just see what they're putting on the walls. They spend hundreds of millions of dollars figuring out what to paint their stinking walls and what colors to use and what kind of flooring is going to work. I mean, like, you don't have to figure this stuff out. Just go to a bunch of new construction models and they'll tell you what all the research says you should be doing.
You
So.
can even watch HGTV, because that's what the buyers are doing.
Yeah,
That's
it doesn't
what they
hurt
wanna
you.
see.
Doesn't hurt you.
Yeah, no, and it's not that HGTV. Excuse me. It's that what's on HGTV people decide that they like.
Right.
Right. It's
That's
not
what
that
I'm
like
saying.
HGTV is being an
It's
effective
something
journalist.
you
Hey, what are you putting on there? No, they're like, this is what you need to like. So yeah, you can watch HGTV too. All right.
Possible fashion.
Next steps. Friend me on Facebook. I want to be all of your friends. Check out our Grid Facebook group. This is a nationwide group of real estate investors where you guys can network and hear from other people doing deals in there, talking about topics of interest.
Costs $300 a year to
Yep.
join.
Totally free 95.
It's $395 to join.
Check out YouTube, gridinvestor.com.
Yep.
I think, do we upload Grid CAZA Gainesville's videos onto that YouTube channel? I don't think so. So you might be able to, check that out. RSVP to, please come back next month. Next month's topic. Mark, do you know it off the top of your head? If not, I can look it up in a heartbeat.
Look it up in a heartbeat while you're looking it up. The other thing that you can do, and while you're registering for the next event, where it will be some kind of topic around what we do, be it wholesaling or negotiating with motivated sellers, or marketing, or how to be the bank, or how to and property manage a rental property. We're gonna start talking about cost segregation and those kind of things, because that's a great way to make a couple extra bucks. How to use and understand hard money, how to eventually become a hard money lender, those kind of things get talked about. And that discussion and this room will be better for the more people that are in it. The window's open, so if it gets stuffy, we can make it unstuffy in here.
Yep.
When you run out of space, you'll find somewhere with
right.
more space. But the more people that participate in our group, the more knowledge we'll have, the more deals we'll have, the more opportunities to meet other people who are doing other things that will generate money for everyone who participates, that we'll all have. So this is a networking exercise. You should be growing your network. You should be inviting other people to join the network because it wins.
Very good. How to negotiate the deal, identify and qualify, plus qualify motivated sellers. So, this stuff is kind of stacking, right? Like 2 months ago, it was how to find deals, how to estimate renovations, how to negotiate the deals, right? It's the sequence of steps that we're kind of taking people through on an annual basis so that you can kind of, know how to put the whole deal together by the end of the year.
Then I presume if anybody wanted to ask you how it was you've been building your portfolio, you'd be willing to have coffee with somebody and talk about the business, right?
I
There
actually,
you go. Don't feel like you missed anything. You're a font of knowledge. You talk about it.
I look for opportunities to connect, because I just love talking about it. I love strategizing about it. I'm meeting with a roofer here soon, just to talk about how he can build his portfolio, because I see some interest in that.
Is Matt allowed to have coffee?
Not,
No, I don't think so.
not afternoon.
It's a lot, I mean, it's a lot of
Yeah.
energy, but.
A lot. Good. Oh yeah, and the free grid pass. So that's a thing that we're building. We're trying to just get more stuff onto the website and give people a reason to kind of hang out there. Also absolutely free, and we've got replays of those videos. We're working on educational content that we can get onto that thing that hopefully allows you to go take some action. That's the point. That's what I think we all want, is other people doing what we do, and if there's any way that we can kind of slot in and be a missing piece or connect the dot to help you do it, that's what we like to do, right?
Perfect. Marcus, thank you very much for coming and sharing, and everybody really appreciate
Happy to
your
be here.
time, man.